the Grand City Hotel. We went to General Santos City to conduct autopsy on the body of Christine Dacera. Took us 6 hours. We recovered, collected biological samples, brought them to Manila, processed them here. We waited for some submissions before a pending incident with the prosecutor's office in Makati. We awaited for the results of our own DNA toxicology and the autopsy. We took the statements of the respondents who cooperated, mostly from room 2207. And Attorney Laika Conales of the Death Investigation Division will enumerate the charges as well as the respondents in this morning's filing by the NBI. Ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Agent Zuleika Marie Conales de Gama of the Death Investigation Division. Today, we recommended before the Department of Justice the filing of the following criminal charges. Number 1, administering illegal drugs against Mark Anthony Rosales. Number 2, attempt to deliver or give away to another illegal drugs against Mark Anthony Rosales and Romel Galido. Perjury against Romel Galido, John Pascual de la Serna, and Darwin Joseph de Leon Macalya. Obstruction of justice against Mark Anthony Rosales, Romel Galido, JP de la Serna, Gregorio Angelo Rafael de Guzman, Jezreel Rapinan, Alain Chen Dayanan or Valentine Rosales, Raymar Ingles, Darwin Joseph de Leon Macalya, and Attorney Neptali G. Maroto. Reckless imprudence resulting in homicide against John Pascual de la Serna, Jezreel Rapinan, Alain Chen, and Louis Sunga de Lima. And lastly, falsification of official document by a public officer against Police Major Michael Nick W. Sarmiento of the Southern Police District Crime Laboratory.
Thank you, Attorney Laika. Any question? Before we do that, we hear a statement from one of the lawyers of the Dacera family. Sir.
So, good afternoon. On behalf of the Dacera family and my law firm, we would like to thank the NBI for giving us this kind of report. We know the efforts and the dedication put in by the men and women behind this case. We were constantly updated by the Bureau of the progress of the case, and we could not thank them enough with the filing of this case this morning. So again, on behalf of the family, maraming salamat po sa kawani ng National Bureau of Investigation, lalo na po sa person ni Attorney Laika. Maraming salamat po ulit, sir. Ma'am.
Great. Thank you, Attorney. Thank you. Any question from the media? Date.
First and foremost, the charge recommended by the Philippine National Police is too different from the charges of the NBI. So the number of respondents they have there will logically be different from ours. Sa tanong po ninyo, hindi ko po siya automatic maisagot, sir. Depende sa charge, no? So, meron ho tayong mga kaso dito na iilan lang, not the entire 11. For example, sir, if we go to administering illegal drugs, isa lang po ang ating nakasuhan dito, according sa ating evidence, and that should be Mark Anthony Rosales.
Nico?
that again? Yes. Dun sa findings ng PNP, sabi nila merong abrasion sa labia and we could not prove that. And sabi rin nila na empty yung urinary tract. We were able to prove this was properly documented that we were able to extract 130 milliliters of urine. You have to take photos and videos during the actual autopsy and the extraction. Because if you cannot, in the collection of biological evidence, biological samples, if you cannot document this, then the origin is questionable. That can be challenged in court. Ito, klaro ito, nakunan namin ito ng video, nakunan ito ng photographs for reasons that it's very sensitive. We cannot show this to the public, but when tasked by the court, then we will present everything before the court. Hindi lang pwedeng ipakita dito paanong kinuha because again, that will be dishonoring the body of Christine Dacera. May nakita doon, yung aming toxicologists, may nakita silang deposits or presence of the drugs, deltiazem, doon sa liver tsaka sa stomach. Pag ito nagkaroon ng deposit sa stomach, medyo taken days before ito. Pag sa liver, ibig sabihin matagal nang nagtitake ng deltiazem. This can be explained by Dr. Evelyn Ignacio of our medical legal. Doc.
Good afternoon po. With regards to the drug that was taken by the Forensic Chemistry Division, they found out in the presence of diltiazem in the stomach and liver. So ito po ay ginagamit for lowering blood pressure and has some effect on cardiac conduction. So this prescription drug is indicated for the management of hypertension, and it also improves the exercise tolerance in patients with chronic stable angina. So finally, the management is indicated for variant angina or Prince metal angina, sir. Based po dun sa examination ni Dr. Dahig, ang protocol po namin ay kumuha ng mga samples from different organs, and then itong organs po na ito ay sinasubmit namin for histopathological examination. Bukod po doon, sinasubmit din po to sa toxicology para po sa itetest po for the presence kung ano po merong mga substance na toxic substance or mga gamot po, sir. Nag-positive po sa stomach yung presence po ng diltiazem, sir. Yung presence po ng diltiazem, nag-positive po dun sa, nakita po siya sa stomach, sir. Yun po yung sa toxicology.
Yeah, yung sa nagkaroon ng swabbing ang PNP doon sa floor, kung saan nag-scatter yung kanyang vomit, no, yung suka. And there was a result that there was presence of dangerous drugs, fluoromethamphetamine. So, yung suka doon sa room 2209, sa CR ng 2209, ay nagkaroon doon ng droga sa 2209. We have testimonial pieces of evidence, I think 7 or 8. And then itong forensic report ng SOCO. And then meron din itong testimony galing kay Jake Esteron that he was offered illegal drugs when he went to 2209. And it was also testified that Mark showed him powder drugs. He pulled the powder drugs from his socks. Yes, we support that because kanila nga itong fluoromethamphetamine.
Sir, may I clarify regarding the angle of drugs? Insofar as the NBI is concerned, our Forensic Investigation Service was not able to establish the presence of drugs through forensic examination precisely because we were there second na. Nauna kasi ang SOCO, no? So, discuss muna natin yung nakuha ng SOCO. One of the matters taken by SOCO from room 2209 ay yung vomitous matter, malapit doon kung saan nagsusukasitin. At kung nakita niyo po yung attachment namin dyan sa aming investigasyon, at around 6:39, makikita mo na nakaupo si Tin at fronting the toilet bowl at nagsusuka po siya. May photo yan, submitted in evidence by the occupants of room 2209, si John Paul Halili. So, yung portion na yun, yung vomitous matter na yun, was taken by our SOCO PNP, marked as specimen number 10, and in the forensic examination, particularly chemistry report nila, it was stated that that vomitous matter na naswab nila has presence of, number 1, 4-fluoromethamphetamine, and number 2, methamphetamine. So dalawa po yung nakita na illegal drugs doon. Now, on the part of the NBI, we were able to corroborate such presence of illegal drugs through the statement of our witnesses. Ang una po niyan is si Tin mismo. When she went to room 2207, she alleged before the occupants therein na ayaw niya na doon dahil number 1, nag-orgy ang mga ito, at number 1, show us. When we asked the occupants of room 2207 kung ano ba yung show us, apparently it's a gay lingo for high. Number 2, noong pumasok yan si Romel Galido doon sa room ng 2207 and spoke to the occupants therein. Sinabi niya, kung hindi lang ako magpa-flight bukas, mag-take din ako. And then, gesturing as though he was taking some medicine or something. Kasi gumanon siya. Number 3, one of the occupants of room 2207, yung isang witness natin, ay nakapagsabi na nung pumasok siya sa room 2209, common friend niya na si Romel Galido offered to him this way, Bax, may party drugs kami, bet mo? Ang sabi na ngayon ng ating witness, ayoko, hindi. Apparently, hindi naman siya user. Pero nagpumilit itong si Romel Galido, went to a companion, a friend also in 2209, and asked for such party drugs. Ang sabi niya, ay wala na. So bumalik siya sa ating witness sa 2207 at sinabi niya na, sorry, Box, ubos na pala. So, no more. So, that's another corroboration to the presence of drugs. Number 4, an occupant of 2207 who was there for such a long time, for about 4.5 hours, sa room 2209, also disclosed that certain individuals were using drugs in 2209 in the person of JP de la Serna and Romel Galido. Well, apparently, he also insinuated, kasi hindi direct yung pagkasabi niya na Tin also used. He insinuated lang na gumamit. Ang sabi niya kasi, mali kasi yun hindi pwede ang ecstasy at alcohol ipagsabay. Kasi yung heartbeat. But did not mention of who took what na ecstasy. Pero etong si JP at si Ed Madrid, he expressly mentioned in his conversation na gumamit nga ito ng droga. In fact, tinuruan pa niya daw itong si Ed Madrid kung paano mag-detoxify. And he expressed his concerns kay JP dahil hindi makadetoxify dahil nakadetain naman ito sa Makati City Police Detention Center. And apart from those independent testimonies of the witnesses na nakuha ng National Bureau of Investigation, we emphasize the declarations made by JP and Rom during the time that their statements were taken before the Makati City Police. Ang sabi nila, they expressly mentioned Mark Rosales showed to them drugs, offered to them drugs. Well, apparently, JP said he did not use. But the fact remains na si Mark Rosales showed and offered to them powdered drugs. Itong si Rom naman nagsabi na si Tin daw ay nag-disclose sa kanya that her drink was spiked by Mark Rosales.
Yeah, ang pagkaiba dito on four grounds, this was earlier explained, no? Una, walang NBI cannot prove na merong abrasion dito sa labia. And then, while we are yung sa urinary bladder, we were able to extract 130 milliliters of urine. They were not able. We properly documented this. Yung presence of diltiazem, we went farther, no? This is somehow supportive and consistent with the cause of death, yung sa aortic aneurysm. Ito basically yung pagkaiba. Remember, NBI came into the picture with the biggest challenge. The body of Christine Dacera had already been embalmed. There was a prior autopsy conducted on the body of Christine Dacera. Pieces of evidence already decomposed and deteriorated insofar as 2209 is concerned, because we came into the crime scene at 2209, I think 7-8 days after the January 1. And yung ibang pieces of evidence, wala sa amin dahil this was with another agency. We had a hard time coordinating. There was a pending incident with the City Prosecutor's Office of Makati. And so, you can just imagine the challenge to this investigation, but we pursued, we gathered strength and support from the family of the victim and represented by the lawyers here. And this is how we do our investigation.
Police Major.
Si Attorney Laika.
Nag-file po kami ng falsification of an official document committed by a public officer against the doctor who issued the autopsy report. Na-explain na po kanina. In official document po kasi ang isang autopsy report. Si Dr. Sarmiento ay legally obliged to state truthful narration of facts therein. Hindi po namin alam kung paano at anong nangyari sa kanya at gano'n ang nangyaring may difference ng aming report kumpara sa kanyang ginawa, which are very glaring. For example, number 1, sa autopsy report na makikita ninyo sa Philippine National Police, ang sinasabi doon ay ang urinary bladder ay empty. Yun naman ay napatunayan namin na hindi totoo. Based on the extraction procedure na ginawa ng NBI, nakakuha tayo ng 130 ml ng fluid doon sa urinary bladder ni Tin. Pangalawa po, which is para sa amin, sa aming analysis, was heavily relied upon by the complainants in filing rape with homicide, ay yung pagsabi niya na may presence ng abrasion doon sa labia majora ni Tin. Dito sa mabusising forensic examination, autopsy procedure na ginawa ng ating mga doktor at forensic experts, ay nakita pong walang abrasion sa kanyang labia majora. And so therefore, an autopsy report being an official document, a public document, and Dr. Sarmiento being legally bound to state truthful narration of facts doon sa kanyang autopsy report ay hindi niya nagawa. Siya po ay pasok doon sa violation ng falsification of official document committed by a public officer.
Other questions? Nico?
Yes, sir. Yung abogado naman po ni JP de la Serna at ni Rom ay naisali ho namin sa aming charge for obstruction of justice. Nais po namin ipaalam na noong January 25, 2021, si Attorney Neptali Maroto po ay sumite ng sworn affidavit before the Office of the City Prosecutor of Makati City, apparently supporting the claims of JP de la Serna and Romel Galido, na their statements were taken under duress, threat, etc., etc. Doon sa sworn affidavit ni Attorney Maroto, ay sinabi niya na, yun nga po, they underwent so much sufferings under the hands of the police officers of Makati City. Surprisingly, all those were just bare allegations. It came as rather, not only as, parang naano po kami kasi isang abogado at hindi man lang nagbibigay ng ebidensya doon sa napaka-serious na aligasyon tungkol sa pagkandak ng trabaho ng ating mga law enforcement officers. In fact, in the statement of the Bureau in the transmittal, we said that we cannot, ang sabi namin doon, we cannot imagine a lawyer, the presence of the mother and the sister, making such serious allegations without, number one, attaching any evidence thereto. Number two, hindi man lang nag-file ng totoong kaso against these police officers. At number three, sa tinagal-tagal ng panahon, matapos po sila makalabas, ay wala man lang aligasyon na they were under threat or duress. Lumabas na lang po ang storya na yan, matapos nilang mag-submit ng kanilang recantation doon sa nauna nilang affidavit. Sa elements ng obstruction of justice under F&I of PD 1829, pasok na pasok po ang ginawa ng ating abogado na si Attorney Neptali G. Maroto doon sa obstruction of justice. That would have been one of the most logical things that they could have done immediately after the alleged incident. Kaso nga po, ang nangyayari, we emphasize here in the Bureau, criminal cases are primarily observed through human nature. Anybody who has been a victim of a serious allegation of a crime should have done something to defend himself when he has the best opportunity to do so. Nakaraan ng ilang araw, ang dami nilang abogadong nakausap, gumaguide sa kanila, ilan-ilang press conference at social media appearances ang ginawa nila, ngunit wala man lang isang aligasyon doon tungkol sa ginawa ng mga pulis sa kanila na they were under threat. That only came after they recanted their statement. In criminal law, we could only think that those were just afterthoughts. And maybe they were trying to hide the truth from this Bureau. Kaya nga po, kinasuhan natin sila ng obstruction of justice.
Remember when the respondents represented by counsel made their counsel confession before the police, detalyado ito, no? The circumstances surrounding the incident on December 31 on to January 1, detalyado ito. But when they made the recantation, medyo general statements lang ito, that they were harassed, walang detalye. So between the two statements, mas pinaniwalaan namin yung unang statement nila made before the policemen and before their in the presence of their counsel.
Tungkol po sa reckless imprudence resulting in homicide, tingnan po natin ang timeline. Makikita po natin sa ebidensya sa transmittal na sinubmit ng Bureau doon sa Department of Justice that as early as 5 o'clock, pumunta ito si Tin sa room 2207. Nagrereklamo siya dahil ang sakit-sakit na ng ulo niya. Sabay doon ay nagsusuka na talaga siya. Isang beses nga po, ay sinabi ni Tin doon sa occupant ng 2207, nagnanam yung arms ko, pakimasahe naman. Minasahe naman siya ng taga 2207. One of the observations ng ating witness sa 2207 ay hinihila pa nga ni Tin pataas yung buhok niya kasi sobrang sakit na talaga ng ulo niya. At nakikita nila na humihingal na ito. Maya-maya ay pumasok itong si Valentine doon sa room 2207. That's after 5:30 ang oras ng January 1, 2021. Pumasok ito si Valentine at sinabi ng mga occupants ng 2207, yung kaibigan nyo, ganito ang kondisyon niya. Well, if you have seen the video, kinary nga niya si Valentine, di ba? Valentine carried Tin toward room 2209. Pagdating doon sa room 2209, according to the counter affidavits of those charged for reckless imprudence resulting in homicide, patuloy ang pagsusuka, patuloy ang pagrereklamo ng kanyang sakit sa ulo. Pero ang ginawa ng mga taga room 2209, kasi kung sabi ko nga kanina, all criminal cases should be observed using observation of human nature. Kung ako nakikita ko ang aking kaibigan na nagsusuka, masakit na masakit ang ulo, ang gagawin ko siguro noon is number one, either bibigyan ko ng gamot or I would seek for immediate assistance. At ang isa pa naming pinagtataka, sinabi ng ating mga occupants ng 2209 ay wala namang extraordinary na kailangan namin siyang tulungan She just appeared too drunk and too weak to help herself. Which is pinagtataka namin dahil sa kaunting panahon nakasama si Tin ng mga occupants ng 2207 ay nakita nila na humihingal at nahihirapang huminga, nagpang-abot ang huminga, nagsabi na ang kanyang katawan, masakit na masakit ang ulo, and yet the occupants of 2209 who were with her for such a long time failed to even observe or notice the littlest of these details, which to us is very, very impossible. Now, reckless imprudence resulting in homicide, you did not intend to kill anybody, but your omission to give the proper prudence and diligence required of you in that time and place. You failed to give that diligence and that prudence, you are liable under the law. Kaya namin sila kanasuhan.
Okay, thank you, Attorney. Other questions? Tate.
For occupants of room 2207, we charge si Darwin De Leon Macalya for perjury and obstruction of justice. Sa 2207, witnesses ho natin sila, let us correct. 2207 occupants, except for Darwin Macalya, ay ating mga witnesses. Si Macalya, we charged him with perjury and obstruction of justice. Kanina po na-discuss ko na merong occupant ng 2207 na pumunta sa 2209 and stayed there for more than 4 hours. Ang tinutukoy po natin dito ay si Subject Macalya. He was also the same person who disclosed to a friend in 2207 that JP de la Serna, Ed Madrid, used illegal drugs and insinuated that may gumamit din ng ecstasy at lumakas yung heartbeat dahil sinabay sa alcohol. Although wala namang na-name na tao kung sino yon. That's Dij Macalya, occupant of room 2207. Kaya po sinasabi ko, tingnan natin ang oras. Nagsimula po siyang magsusuka alas 5. Alas 4, alas 5, sumusobra na po yung suka niya. Yung pagtulong na sinasabi natin on the CPR, that's already past 12. Medyo malayo na po. Wala na po tayong sini-CPR doon, patay na po yun. Tsaka po, nais lang namin i-clarify, yung mga tumulong po doon sa 12 o'clock at yung kinasuhan natin ng reckless imprudence ay hindi naman po pareho lahat. Yung kinasuhan natin ng reckless imprudence ay yun po yung instead of ipunta siya sa ospital ay pinaliguan pa po nila si Tin. Iba po ito, iba po silang mga tao. They are Louis de Lima, si Clark, yan, 4 po sila, makikita naman po ninyo sa listahan. Pero yung tumulong po kasi at nag-CPR, ibang tao din po yun. Si Gigo de Guzman yun, di po ba? Si JP, nag-check ng pulse niya. Si Clark at si Rom. In fact, here, Rom was not charged with reckless imprudence resulting in homicide. We've established that at the time, he was just really sleeping. There was no way for him to help Tin at the time.
Yes, sir.
Doc,
Based po dun sa findings ni Dr. Rodaje, ang cause of death po niya, binagbasehan din po yung slides nang galing sa PNP. So ang findings po dito, microscopic evidence of peri-aortic hemorrhages and aortic wall disruption, suspicious for a bleeding, dissecting aneurysm, based on the review of slide of PNP Crime Laboratory. So, yung sample po ay nanggaling din sa PNP kasi during the time of autopsy po, wala na pong nakuha si Dr. Rodaje na aorta. So, na-process na po yung aorta ng PNP, which is, ito naman pong pag-examine na to ay naka-coordinate ang NBI at PNP and then in-examine po ng aming pathologist na si Dr. Rim. So ito po yung findings niya. Consistent po siya sa aneurysm, sir. Opo. Sir,
we cannot prove the fact of rape. We cannot do a charge when we cannot prove this either at the level of the prosecution or more so with the courts. That's the findings of our toxicologists, and we have to include that in the report. We cannot keep that out of the report. We respect very much the statements of the family insofar as the earlier findings and the earlier cases are concerned.
Sir, pag sinabi pong aneurysm, ito po ay natural cause of death. So, ibig sabihin po, walang nakakaalam po kung kailan magra-rupture yung aorta. So, natural cause po yung. Parehas naman po yung findings ng PNP at NBI. Kaya lang po, short po kasi yung kanilang findings dahil kagaya po ng findings po sa genital organ, which is na-describe po ni Dr. Rodaje, na meron pong old-healed superficial laceration po. While the PNP described it as presence of abrasion. Kung presence of abrasion, possible po yon na ito ay fresh, bagong injury po pag sinabing abrasion. Sa layman's term po, ito ay gas-gas. While sa description po ni Dr. Rodaje, ang findings po niya ay old-healed laceration po. Ibig sabihin, nagkaroon na po siya ng sexual contact at nagkaroon po siya ng injury a long time ago pa po. So, yun po yung difference. Hindi ko po siya masasabi kasi separate po yung crime scene sa ano eh. Kasi kung hindi ko po baka po si attorney ma-explain niya po.
The incidents in the early morning of January 1, leading to the death around 6 after 6 in the morning of January 1 was very consistent. The incidents were very consistent with the cause of death. Remember, she was already feeling numbness dun sa arm niya. And these are indications of possible attack. And meron siyang headache. Indicators ito ng nagkakaroon na siya ng attack. The diltiazem, as discussed by the doctor, ibig sabihin meron na talaga siyang angina, yung chest pain. Dati pa, as again, doon ito nakita may deposits doon sa liver niya. So, these indicators would lead to itong rupture of the aorta. This is an indication na meron na siya dati. Meron na siya dating iniinda. No? Indikasyon ito. Hindi lang let's say very clear dito is yung interplay ng illegal drugs, alcohol.
Other questions? John?
Isa po sa mga naka-attach namin na ebidensya doon sa submissions natin sa DOJ is a medical opinion discussing the relationship of the rupture of the aortic aneurysm and the alleged intake of drugs. Makikita po doon, according to our experts, na kapag ikaw ay nag-take ng drugs, ay tataas ang iyong BP. So mag-rapid ang iyong heartbeat at magtaas ang iyong BP, which would ultimately result to the rupture of the aneurysm. So makikita po yan doon sa aming ebidensya na naka-attach. Yes, it's medically probable that the rupture of the aortic aneurysm having existed already, the rupture thereof is triggered by, number one, increase ng heartbeat, dahil you possibly took something or dahil nag-high blood ka, pressure, tumaas yung pressure mo. So, in the context of the intake of drugs, pag ang sabi doon sa medical opinion ng ating mga eksperto, pag nag-intake ka ng drugs, tataas ang blood pressure mo, mag-i-increase ang heartbeat mo, which naturally would cause the rupture of the existing aneurysm. So, ganun po. Let me clarify, the drugs I'm referring to which would increase the heartbeat is actually illegal drugs. In fact, in the discussion, we focused on the use of methamphetamine, which, kung makikita po natin sa chemistry report ng ating SOCO, ay present doon sa vomitous matter na nakuha malapit kung saan siya nagsusuka. So, part po yan ng ebidensya namin. We made a relationship. We actually presented a relationship between the intake of illegal drugs, the effects of such intake to illegal drugs, yung pinaka-immediate, which would be increase in blood pressure, and number two, increase in heartbeat. And then, the effect ng increase in blood pressure and heartbeat doon sa kanyang aortic aneurysm na existing na. So, based on that medical opinion, probable medically na nag-rupture dahil doon.
Let me make it clear. We're not saying that Christine Dacera took diltiazem on that night. No. Let's not mistake it for that. We're saying na she had been taking diltiazem as found in yung presence ng sa liver, no? And then yung sa stomach. This is to help her condition. On that night, when she took illegal drugs and alcohol, it defeated the purpose for which she was taking the diltiazem. It defeated the purpose. Natalo yung kanyang nagtitake siya ng diltiazem because she knew na meron siyang condition. Wala kaming laboratory report on that.
Base po doon sa chemistry report ng ating SOCO PNP, ang nakita pong illegal drugs ay 4-fluoromethamphetamine and methamphetamine.
Negative ito for presence of illegal drugs and alcohol. Yeah, contaminated na kasi ito. Remember, may ano na ito, na imbalsamo na, may formaldehyde na. Again, that's one of the challenges we encountered.
Yan. Yan.
Ang tungkol po sa pag-imbalsamo kay Tin, bago pa man ang nagawang autopsy, nagsagawa din po ng investigasyon ng Bureau doon sapagkat isa din po ito sa mga complaints ng pamilya. Sa amin pong investigasyon ay nakita namin na meron pong existing na 2011 handbook for the new normal ang ating Philippine National Police. At isa po doon sa mga provision ay kung ikaw ay maaring nag-travel sa mga lugar na kung saan may COVID cases, at namatay ikaw, ay maaari na iimbalsamo ka 5 hours before your autopsy. Alam naman po natin na si Tin ay isang flight attendant. At siguro for the protection of our health personnel, precisely why the Philippine National Police came up with such a handbook. Kung kaya po, kung nagsagawa man po or nag-order man po si Dr. Sarmiento ng imbalsamo, bago pa man ang autopsy, ay ginawa niya po yun dahil meron naman po siyang basihan. At yan po yung 2011 handbook ng ating Philippine National Police under the new normal. If you take a look at the report of Dr. Palmero, ang ginawa niya po ay he expressed his medical opinion based on the narration of facts by Dr. Sarmiento. Hindi po siya sa aming pag-a-assess ay hindi po siya intently done na gusto niyang magsabi ng mga bagay-bagay o opinion sa kanyang report. Sapagkat ang basihan niya naman po ay ang binigay na alleged factual findings ni Dr. Sarmiento. Kung meron man ho siyang pagkukulang doon sa kanyang histopathology report, sa punto pong ngayon ay hindi po namin makitaan ng kriminal. Pag-aaralan pa din naman po ng Bureau kung ano man ang mga charges, administrative or what, na maaari nating isampa sa mga opisyal na merong ginawang mali doon sa pag-autopsy o kung ano mang proseso doon sa kaso ni Tin Dacera.
Okay. Other questions? Closing statement?
The director wishes to extend his appreciation for your coming. He is in Tacloban, in Calbayog, Samar, attending to another sensational case. Together with the Deputy Director for Regional Operations Service, Attorney Antonio Pagatpat, and the Chief of Staff of the Office of the Director, Attorney Ernesto Macabaring. For the PNP, PIDEA, we are in the thick of investigation. We hope to be able to come up with a substantial report around or later part next week. Hopefully, we can have substantial progress. Again, bear with us. Medyo heavy ang load ng NBI, but we're keeping the peace. We're helping keep the peace. As we always say, when the going gets tough, pag mahigpit ang labanan, the Taft. We used to be at Taft Avenue, gets going. So, di ba? Ang sabi nga ni Director, if I may read, the OIC seeks and endeavors to give justice to the victims of crimes in finding the truth and bringing the perpetrators to the bars of justice. This is a statement from Director Eric Distor.
With that, thank you very much and good afternoon. Please stay. We have snacks for everyone. Thank you.